style where you use that kind of limitation, where you get a hard edge and then you can't blend it. It gives a nice style, I think, to the painting sometimes, where you're kind of making a strong decision as an artist, a strong visual decision. You have to say the shadow is this shape, or this highlight is exactly this shape. You don't have any sort of like fuzzy or soft edges. But because the paints don't dry out as easily on the palette, it still gives you more working time than you would have. So they kind of work really well in both circumstances. Just added some white to the mix, but this is the tinting white now, to begin to add some fairly soft highlights. So for the more detailed work, I've switched to a filbert brush. So if that's not one you've come across before, it's basically a flat brush, but with a rounded tip. So it's almost the shape of a spade or a spoon, I suppose, or a shovel or a spoon, I should say. And I'm just coming in with some ultramarine blue to add a few darker details and a few kind of gestural marks. So this is now the beginnings, really, of leaving an area unpainted. So for the animal on the left, I intend to paint that fully in the way I normally would. But for the animal on the right, because it's predominantly white, I'm going to treat it more as a drawing, even though I'm using paint and a brush, and I've clearly painted in some areas. The techniques I'm using now, they're more akin to the style of drawing I would do for farm animals, where I would use my ballpoint pen perhaps, or my Unipin marker or my Sharpie, where I would look at the general texture of the surface of the animal, the tangles in the hair or the fur, depending on what I'm painting, or the feathers even, and then try and capture the character of that randomness with a few key marks. So that's what I've begun to do on the ears and the head of the animal there. So obviously I'm just moving on to the left-hand animal, but one of the things I wanted to mention about the white cow on the right is some of those ultramarine blue marks that I've put down, in particular on the left leg. You can see I've put them over the top of the watercolor marker line in burnt umber that I had in the original drawing, but that line is still showing through, and